of the cerebral cortex. What are those? The first one is the dorsolateral surface, the second one is the median surface, and the last one is the basal surface. So when you say the dorsolateral surface, if I'm looking there, and if I take out one of our, if I take out this side, no, that will be the dorsolateral surface. Okay? And the median surface is located in the middle. So when I cut the corpus callosum, no, and also the cerebral cortex in half, and that is the median surface. And the basal surface is when I'm looking up. Okay, so it's here. Okay? Now, each of these surfaces have their own specific structures. Okay? And I'd like you to know that in this specimen, now let's draw the specimen first. Okay, does it look the same? Almost. Okay, so once again, this one here is the anterior side, and this is the posterior side of things. Okay, right here anterior, and this one here is the posterior. Okay, how many lobes are there in the cerebral cortex for one hemisphere? There should be a total of 4. Okay, and the dorsolateral surface, or actually the surface of the cerebral cortex. What are the lobes? You have the frontal lobe. Okay, you have the parietal lobe. You have the occipital lobe. Occipital, and you have the temporal. Okay, so if you think about it, how did you know, or how did I know if this is the anterior or posterior? There are 2 things that you have to remember. Number 1 is that in the anterior, anterior part or in the anterior part of the cerebral cortex, there should be 2 poles. Okay, so the first pole, the biggest one, is the frontal pole, and this is the frontal pole. Okay, and the second pole is the temporal pole. Okay, so from the lobe itself, if this is the frontal lobe, there's a frontal pole. If there's a temporal lobe, there's a temporal pole. Okay, so if you can look at this specimen, no, this one here is the frontal lobe, so this must be the frontal pole. Okay, this one here is the temporal lobe, so this must be the temporal pole. Okay, and at the back, no, this one here, if this is the occipital lobe, that should be the occipital pole. So in this case, this one here is the occipital pole. Notice that in the anterior portion, there are 2 poles, and in the posterior portion, there is only 1 pole. Okay? So that's the first thing that you'll be able to see. Okay? Why? Because we don't want you to invert the structures in the first place. When you look at the specimen, you have to immediately identify which one is anterior and which one is posterior, so that you'll know which one is the frontal lobe and or the other lobes. Okay? So that's the first. The second one is to identify 2 major lines, okay, called sulci. Okay? When you say 2 major lines, one is a very big one located in the middle. That is your Sylvian fissure. So the Sylvian fissure is a delineation, or it's a very big fissure that separates the frontal lobe from the temporal lobe. Okay, so this one here is a Sylvian fissure, as you can see, and so this one here is the frontal lobe, and this one here is the temporal lobe. Okay, okay. So the second line that you have to remember is the central sulcus of Rolando, which is located in the middle section of the dorsal or dorsolateral surface. Okay? And it bifurcates, not bifurcates, but it actually is, section. Okay, password is 5460. Please do. Thank you. Okay, so it actually separates 2 lobes. So you have the frontal and the parietal lobe. Okay? So in this case, this is the central sulcus of Rolando. Okay? Central sulcus of Rolando. And so this part here is the frontal lobe, And this part here is the parietal lobe. You see it? Yes? Yes. So what are those two things? Number one, poles. And the second one is the sulci or the fissures. Okay. Now, once again, there is a difference between the sulci and the fissure. Okay. So we have this. Okay, what is that? The waves. if we take a look at this, you have the gyrus and the sulci, right? So the one, this is the superior foresurface. This is the inferior, the deeper surface. Okay. So this one here, the one that bulges up, are known as the gyrus or gyri, if many. Okay. If it's a shallow, what do you call this? Groove, yes, thank you. If it's a shallow groove, it's known as sulci or sulcus. Okay? If it's a deeper one, it's known as the fissure. Okay? And that's the reason why the sylvian fissure is termed fissure, is because you see the line. You know, it's very deep. But the central sulcus of Rolando is called a sulcus because it's not that deep. You see it? Yes. Okay? Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. What is the purpose of the brain having a gyrus and a sulcus? Or a gyri and a sulci? Okay, separates nerve function. Yes, that is correct. Anything else? Increase the surface area. I'll expound further on the separates the different nerves. So, when you think about it, the cerebral cortex has different Brodmann areas. You're aware of Brodmann areas now, right? Compared to before. Okay, so the Brodmann areas are a delineation of the functional areas of the brain. While this one here, we're talking about the gross anatomical structures. Okay, so there's a difference between the gross anatomical structures and the functional structures. When you say functional, it refers to the Brodmann areas. When you say gross structures rather, it refers to the specific identification of the structures that we have here. Okay, so we'll deal more on the gross rather than the Brodmann areas or the functional ones. Once again, the Brodmann areas is identified because of electrical stimulation, direct stimulation, or if there is a deficit. Remember the lecture I did before? Oh, so that's more of identification of Brodmann areas, which is the function. Okay? You get this part? Yes. So now let's start with the frontal lobe. Okay? So the frontal lobe has different structures that you have to identify. Okay? The first one is, once again, the central sulcus of Rolando. Okay? C, central sulcus of Rolando, CSR. Okay? So just in front of the central sulcus of Rolando, you have the precentral sulcus. Okay? If there's a precentral sulcus, there must be a post-central sulcus. So this must be the post-central sulcus. Because, once again, central sulcus of Rolando, pre and post. Okay? It's just like a pre-test and a post-test. You have a lecture in between. Okay? So think of it that way. Okay? Now, if there is a sulcus, there is a gyrus. Okay? So if you have a precentral sulcus, you have a post-central sulcus, you have a gyrus. So this one must be the post-central gyrus, and this one must be the pre-central gyrus. You see it? Yes. Easy so far? So far though. Okay. Sige. Now, I want you to draw two lines here. Okay? Two lines in the frontal lobe. And once again, the lines will represent the sulcus, and if there's a sulcus, there's a gyrus. Okay? So the lines here, since this is the frontal lobe, and you have two lines, this is the superior frontal sulcus, and this is the inferior frontal sulcus. Easy. Easy, Rado. Yes? No? Do you see it so far?
Yes.
Here? Okay. Now, superior and inferior frontal sulcus. So if there's a sulcus, there's a gyrus. So if this is the superior frontal sulcus, above it is the superior frontal gyrus. Okay? If this is the inferior frontal sulcus, this must be the inferior frontal gyrus. Correct? Okay. So if there's a superior and inferior frontal gyrus, there must be a middle. So this is the middle frontal gyrus. Do you get it? Yes. Okay. Now, the inferior frontal gyrus is kind of like a pabebe. So, it has its own unique structure. Okay? Or a gross structure. And there are three of them. You have a circle, you have a triangle, and you have a letter T. But in my case, I want to draw something like this. So that it will look like the structure itself. Okay? So what are these structures? Usually in the drawing, I like to put two dots in between. Okay? Why? Because this has its own name. Okay? It's called pars, and it's actually a subgyrus or a subgyri. Okay? So the subgyri for the inferior frontal gyrus is known as the pars orbicularis, pars triangularis, hence it's a triangle, and you have the pars opercularis. Okay? So how do you know which one is which? So the first one is the pars orbitalis. So the pars orbitalis, notice that it's in the anterior portion. Okay? So you just draw an eyeball here looking in front, and that is actually connected there. So where the eyeball is, that's the one in front. So pars orbitalis. Okay? You see it? And then triangularis, and then the last one is your opercularis. Do you see it? Yes? Yes. Okay, so we're done with the frontal lobe. Any questions so far? None? Is this easy? No? Sige. But you understand the concept behind how it was made, or how it was named, rather. Yes? Yes. The next one is, let's go to the parietal lobe. So the parietal lobe, you just have to draw one sulcus. Okay? Just one sulcus. And what is that called? It's called the intraparietal sulcus. Okay? Intraparietal sulcus. Because it's in the middle. It's in the middle of the sulcus. Of the gyrus. There's just one. Okay? So we can't label it as superior or inferior because there's really just one. So intraparietal sulcus. And above that is known as the superior parietal gyrus, and below that is the inferior parietal gyrus. You see it? Okay? So the next one here is, so the parietal gyrus, the inferior parietal gyrus, does not want to get left behind because it's jealous of its counterpart, which is the inferior frontal gyrus. Okay? So the inferior frontal gyrus, the inferior parietal gyrus also has its own subgyri. But this time, since he's smaller compared to the inferior frontal gyrus, there are just two gyri. The first one is just above or just at the end of the sylvian fissure. Okay? And that is known as the supramarginal gyrus. Okay? The supramarginal gyrus. And just below that is the angular gyrus. Okay? So above, so in the inferior parietal gyrus, you have two subgyri, and you have the supramarginal gyrus and the angular gyrus. And that's it. Any questions so far for the parietal lobe? None. Okay, good. Now, just to delineate the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe, you have a sulcus as well. What is this called? Yes, the parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay? Parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay? You see it? Yes? Easy so far? No? Just remember this. Okay, just remember how it's made and how it's named for the meantime. Okay? Because you'll be able to see this once we translate it to the specimens. Okay? Now, for the occipital lobe, you'll be happy. Why? Because it does not have any names. Right? Does not have any names. It does not have a counterpart in the gross structure. But it has a counterpart in the Brodmann's area. What are those? You have the primary visual cortex and the associated visual cortex or association visual cortex. So that is